Well, hello there and welcome back to the channel. So, I just got done watching Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3, Episode 1. So after a long, near 2-year hiatus, the show has returned and pretty much expects us to remember what happened in the previous episode. Now, I do remember some parts of the episode. It was a very long time ago, and I tend not to watch new Trek shows more than once because there's just no replayability with these shows. There's no going back and rewatching them. And I find that with a lot of new Trek shows, they're just not rewatchable. It's classic Star Trek's got a rewatchability factor to it, and new Trek shows, just generally speaking, don't have that. So trying to remember what happened in the last episode was quite difficult. And then I realized, well, I didn't actually care that much. I'll just sit and see what they've graced us with. Now, the episode pretty much continues where the last one left off. The Gorn and the Enterprise are in a fight. The Gorn are launching a full strike against the Federation, or at least it looks like they're going to. There's some colonists that have been kidnapped, as well as some of the Enterprise crew. Oh dear. Murder Mbenga, he's been kidnapped. Erica, I Fly the Ship Ortegas, she's been kidnapped. La'an, Discount Drummer Singh, is also been kidnapped, and I believe Soundkirk is amongst them as well. And the Enterprise is, we sort of follow on from that moment where Pike seemed to just completely blank out in the last episode. This episode concludes the two-parter, and it's a fairly sort of generic, predictable episode. Everything's fine in the end, spoiler alert. I will be talking about some of the points in this episode, but I won't be doing a detailed breakdown and analysis because, well, quite frankly, I don't care enough to do that anyway in the first place. So, yeah, they come up with a plan. The Gorn are launching a full-blown strike against the Federation. It all pretty much works out in the end. The crew of the Enterprise come up with this plan to turn the Enterprise into a star, and draw the Gorn to them like moths to a flame. Captain Patel, she's been infected with the Gorn. She's going to turn into a xenomorph Gorn, and Chapel and Spock have to save her. The crew members on board the Gorn ship, La'an breaks out of her digestion pod because the crew are, being partially digested, and she rescues Murder Mbenga first because, you've got to rescue the Doctor first, and they basically plan their escape from the Gorn ship using a smaller Gorn ship. Everything works out in the end, and everyone's living happily ever after at the end of the episode. So it's a fairly predictable end to a two-parter. Now, none of that I really have much of a problem with, of course, because it's Strange New Worlds. They named a starship the USS Pablo Picasso, which I thought was very interesting, a bit of a tongue twister, and I'm not exactly sure that's a particularly great name for a starship. It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. It's just one of those things I noticed, the USS Pablo Picasso. What's next? The USS Leonardo da Vinci. If you like Strange New Worlds, you're going to like this, because I would say Strange New Worlds has done something that no other new Trek show has actually done, and that's divide the original fan base of Star Trek in some ways, because there's a lot of classic Star Trek fans that really do like Strange New Worlds, and I'm left wondering whether they like Strange New Worlds because it's not Discovery and it's not as bad as Discovery, or whether they really do like it for what it is, which I find a little bit sort of confusing anyway to begin with. The classic Strange New Worlds tropes are all still there. Nothing's changed. You can tell this was filmed very close to the end of season 2. It's just we've had to wait 2 years, and that is to the show's detriment. I've spent a long time away from Strange New Worlds, and I'd started to sort of think, well, to be fair, I don't like Strange New Worlds. I know that I don't, but this episode kind of reminded me why, because all of our classic characters, you see, are being completely stripped down to their bare bones and essentially shit on. Okay, so Spock's being shit on. He's been simped out. He's like this lost little puppy going after Chapel. While Chapel's amazing. Scotty is absolutely castrated in this episode by Pelia, who's, of course, one of their characters, one of the New Trek elite characters, who has to be better than the classic series characters. And also, to add insult to injury, they have to be the ones to mentor them and talk down to them and tread on them and treat them like complete and utter garbage all the time. And that does happen throughout the episode. There's a few things I found interesting when the crew members on the Gorn ship are breaking out of their digestion pods. Sam Kirk is the only one who tosses his cookies, although, you know, the women don't, but Murder and Benga doesn't either. I found that quite interesting for various reasons. More Strange New Worlds tropes that I'm not exactly in love with is the fact that they can't seem to let any kind of scene play out, and there's a New Trek thing. They don't seem capable or confident enough to let scenes naturally play out without any musical score. I would say the only time I didn't hear a musical score is simply between acts when there was a black screen. They seem to just keep using that manipulative style, using musical score to manipulate you into trying to feel something, but it doesn't resonate that well, and it makes the episodes feel really full, bloated, and really off-putting and distracting. Visually, of course, being New Trek, it all looks pretty decent. The Star Trek style is not really there. It's more pew-pew, and it's very busy. Everything's very busy. But, you know, visually, I think New Trek does a reasonable job. It's got a big budget, and it does a reasonable job with it. But I think, generally speaking, there's nothing new here. There's nothing different. There's nothing exciting about this first episode. Every scene is played dramatically, but there's no break with the dramatic stares. Everybody looks constipated all the time, and it's just really off-putting. It's completely antithetical to the nature of what Star Trek used to be. And nothing's given any time to breathe. None of the scenes are given time to breathe. It's all just the same slop that's put in front of us and we're expected to like. Now, there's a bunch of notes that I've made about this episode, and I'll go through them during the live stream tomorrow. And I'll plug that at the end. I won't bug you with it right now. There was one scene towards the end where I honestly thought they killed off Ortegas, and really it should have killed her. It's like with Star Wars, with the modern Star Wars, people can take lightsabers to the gut, you know, and this plasma sword through their body, which would essentially boil them alive and kill them. They can survive it, and in a very similar way, Ortegas can survive a Gorn basically disemboweling her, and then she can fly the ship because Ortegas flies the ship. And it was supposed to be this badass moment, but it just was not believable in the slightest. It looks like Mbenga, the doctor, did nothing to actually try and seal the wound up in any way. Nothing to bandage her, ripping his uniform to put around her waist or anything. She just flew that Gorn ship to enable them to escape. She just flew the ship, bled all over the console. She should have been toast. And of course, they had to have her sort of fake final moment where she goes, "I'm Erica Ortegas and I fly the ship." A lot of my gripes about Strange New Worlds are here, and they are here to stay because the show simply hasn't changed. It's no different. It's exactly the same as it was. Whether or not there's any truth to the supposed reshoots for season 2, I don't know the validity of that. I suppose we will find out in the coming episodes. This first episode is accompanied by a second. I'll do a separate review video for that. I'm not interested in spending a solid 8 hours of my life watching 2 episodes of Strange New Worlds and doing a review in one night. I'll do the second video probably tomorrow. Yeah, Strange New Worlds hasn't really, there's been nothing new. And I was thinking about it the other day, and one of my biggest problems with this show is Akiva Goldsman. Okay, Alex Kurtzman's done irreparable damage to the Star Trek brand. It's very clear that he has completely missed the memo on what Star Trek is. He has completely missed that memo, although he did accuse of other people of missing the memo on Star Trek, because we don't understand what Star Trek is, which I found really insulting at the time. Now I just find it pathetic and pitiful, really. But my biggest problem is Akiva Goldsman. Now, Akiva Goldsman he's had a few little hits in it throughout his career, but most of the poorly performing films out there, movies, TV shows, have all had Akiva Goldsman's stamp on it. And it's usually just quick, quippy dialogue, tough to follow storylines, a lot of plot conveniences and plot contrivances that leave quite the empty experience behind. This show is, to me, devoid of true soul. It's literally a spectacle and nothing more. Our favourite characters are once again just diminished and trodden all over and talked down to by apparently far superior characters. Now, I haven't broken down this episode too much, of course, because I just don't do that anymore. It's too much effort to talk about all the crazy stuff that goes on and try and cram it into a video. That's why we have the live stream, of course. An Evening in 10 Forward is starting back tomorrow on Friday the 18th of July at 8:30. That's UK time, of course, and where we will be discussing both of the episodes, myself, Xell and Watch Nerd, my co-host. So please come and join us for that, because it should be a good laugh, and we'll do a more in-depth dive into the intricacies of this episode. But generally speaking, my opinion on it is unchanged. In terms of Strange New Worlds, it is still Strange New Worlds. There's nothing different about it. There's no corrective action with the show. There's no criticisms been taken on board. Obviously, this was filmed very close to the end of season 2 anyway. But 2 years. 2 years is a long time to wait for a show that more people cared about than Discovery, but still, I don't think enough people care about this show. Anyway, regardless of what I think, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please keep it respectful. Please keep it clean. There's no reason to be unkind on this channel. It's just give us your thoughts, your opinions. And until the next video, probably out tomorrow, you look after yourselves. You look after one another. Take care of yourselves. Genuinely, everybody, look after yourselves. Take care. Bye-bye for now.
The healer, the eraser of all done and said. And as I fall back to my shelter, I know I'll only find peace in your smile.